community, and I am Anastasia Babenko, the cosmetic chemist and formulator of Luksha Cosmetics. Today I am going to talk about sunscreens and how to choose the best possible one or ones for you and your family. In this video, I will share with you the most recent scientific information about this topic, along with regulatory updates. Also, I will share with you my personal experience as a cosmetic chemist and as a consumer. So hopefully after watching this video, you will be able to make your own well-informed decision about what sunscreen will work best for you. Well, let's look closely at sun exposure risks, types of sunscreens, physical and chemical, how our sunscreen products affect the environment, if they affect actually, how to choose the right sunscreen. All things are poison and nothing is without poison. Solely the dose determines what I think is not a poison, said Paracelsus. This is the main principle that determines any risk assessment. It might be applied to UV radiation as well. So sun is essential for life, but too much sun is harmful for us. Be mindful about two common ultraviolet rays that reach the Earth's surface, UVA and UVB. UVB is the main cause of sunburn and skin cancer. UVA, the main cause of long-term skin damage, photoaging, persistent pigmentation. In order to be protected, you need broad spectrum coverage. NASA scientists analyzing 30 years of satellite data have found that the amount of ultraviolet radiation reaching Earth's surface has increased markedly over the last 3 decades. Clinical scientists state that melanoma incidence increases as well, making photoprotection very important. And you may see it from the chart. Melanoma incidence in the United States from 1975 to 2000 increased almost twice. Photoprotection includes sunscreens, clothing, hats, sunglasses, and windshields. On this slide, we can see the value of exposure to UV radiation depending on the time of the day, region, and season. UV exposure is generally on its highest point in midday, approximately 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., and greatly differs depending on the location. If we are looking, for example, to the US locations, Hawaii and Florida have the highest rates. I'm from Vancouver and I have a lot of friends from Vancouver, so let's look at that city as well. Vancouver climate is usually moderate, and looking to the statistics from previous year, we see that starting March, UV index is moderate, coming to the extreme point in June. Okay, what does these values mean? 0 to 2, it's low rate, no protection needed. You can safely stay outside using minimal sun protection, like hat, for example. 3 to 7, it's middle to high, protection needed. 6 shades during late morning through the mid-afternoon. When outside, generously apply broad spectrum SPF 15 or higher sunscreen on exposed skin, and wear protecting clothing, a wide-brimmed hat, and sunglasses. 8+, it means extreme value, extra protection needed. Be careful outside, especially during late morning through mid-afternoon. If your shadow is shorter than you, 6 shade and wear protective clothing, a wide-brimmed hat, and sunglasses, and generously apply a minimum of SPF 30, depending on your photosensitivity, of a broad-spectrum sunscreen on exposed skin. How your skin is photosensitive depends on season, time of the day, your activity, pregnancy, your age. Due to hormonal changes in menopause, aging skin is generally more photosensitive and prone to develop stubborn pigmentation. It also depends on melanization of your skin. The lighter skin, the more photosensitive. It doesn't mean that darker skin, brown on black, don't burn. They do. But generally, darker skin needs more UV exposure to be burned rather than white skin. Non-Hispanic whites are 70 times more likely to develop skin cancer. UV dose required to produce erythema is up to 33 times greater in black people than white. Color skin has inherent protection up to SPF 15. So the more photosensitive your skin is, the higher sun protection you need. There are two types of sunscreen filters: physical and chemical, or organic. Chemical and organic the same. Physical, zinc oxide and titanium dioxide, and chemical, aminobenzoic acid, avobenzone, synoxate, homosalate, myrodimate, etc., etc. At present, under the US proposed order, only physical filters have GRAS status. GRAS means generally recognized as safe. Also, I want to mention that sunscreen products are considered as drugs in the US, Canada, and Australia. It's a big myth that inorganic particles or mineral filters reflect UV and only organic particles absorb. Organic and inorganic particles both work by absorption of UV. The common belief that mineral sunscreen work by reflection is not true. They both absorb at about 85% and reflect at about 15%. Organic filters. How they differ from mineral? Organic particles are way more effective as they have been specifically designed for high absorbance. Amount of product needed for the same SPF can be reduced by 2-3 times if you use product with chemical filters. In this graph, we see the comparison of efficacy of zinc oxide of two types with bisoctrizole chemical filter, which is a broad-spectrum ultraviolet radiation absorber. We clearly see that the difference. So with only mineral filters, it's very difficult to achieve high performance of protection. Well, it's very important note. Regardless of what filters you use, it's very important to create a pretty thick and even layer of sunscreen product on your skin. Look at the ideal picture, how it should be. And now look at the reality, how it usually happens when we apply not enough product on your skin. Approximately 10% of the skin in that case is not covered, is not protected, and the person has a false sense of protection in that case. You need 2 ml per 1 square centimeter of application, approximately 1 teaspoon of a product for face. Apply and don't rub. Rule of two fingers mean apply the sunscreen of your 2 fingers like that, and it will give you the amount needed for your face. It's approximately 1 teaspoon. Due to the raised public concern about safety of using organic filters, many brands are proactively switching to the mineral-only option. Also, Florida in 2019 bans oxybenzone and oxynoxate. Hawaii bans all non-mineral sunscreens. So there are a lot of bans coming in the world. And the Hawaii bans will be effective October 2022. Let's talk about it in details. Studies on dermal penetration show that systemic absorption exceeds 0.5 nanogram per milliliter of blood plasma for the majority of organic UV filters, if maximum used. It means 2 ml per 1 square centimeter application for 75% of the body, 4 times a day during a period of 4 days. So now FDA initiated additional toxicological studies, and it will be animal studies. Why 0.5 nanogram per milliliter plasma? It's FDA threshold for the drug penetration. It's meaning if below that limit, nothing happening. Also, FDA explicitly comments that the presence of UV filters in blood does not mean that these substances are toxic. Additional risk assessment is ordered by FDA. Interesting that among mineral filters only sunscreen, you may also find some chemical filters. These substances, which are performing as chemical sunscreens, might be found in 100% mineral sunscreens claimed products. So just be mindful. For example, octocrylene, its registered UV filter, has very similar molecular structure and activity with ethylglycyl metocrylene, which is not registered as UV filter. This issue of using non-registered UV filters was addressed by several organizations, and FDA now requested all non-registered UV filters to be removed from the market. Well, what affects skin penetration? Its formation of a product, melting point of the actives, molecule weight of substance. Large molecules don't penetrate. Concentration of actives, area and time of exposure, condition of epidermis, temperature, and blood flow. In terms of molecule weight, for example, oxynoxate has molecule weight of 290 daltons, and its melting point is below 30 degrees. Dermal penetration, 4%. Bisoprolol, molecule mass, 659 daltons. Melting point is 195 Celsius. Dermal penetration is below 0.1%. So chemical sunscreens are not the same. It's a big family of very differently performing filters. Just one thing in common. They all have been specifically designed for high level of UV absorption, of UV protection. How our sunscreen product affects the environment? Do chemical filters harm coral reefs? There is a lot of misinformation about it in the internet. In fact, we all want to be careful with our planet, right? We don't want to cause any harm to it. But what science can tell us? Environmental scientists believe that in order to start dissolve carbon content of the coral reefs, 1 million nanograms of chemical filters, common chemical filters, needed per 1 liter. So it's the lowest border that can dissolve carbon content of the coral reefs. They just recently performed different monitorings in Caribbean, Hawaii, and East Asia. And let's take as an example oxybenzone. Oxybenzone is one of the most common organic filters. Oxybenzone is detected about 10 to 100 nanogram per liter, so it's a very low rate. And the majority of UV filters are less than 1000 nanogram per liter. So what does it mean? It means approximately 1 drop in 1 million drops of water, so about 1 drop in Olympic-sized swimming pool. By the way, inorganic filters have even less studies behind, so we have only 2 studies in total so far, almost no data for now. And I want to mention that coral friendly, its claim not official, it's just purely marketing. According to the recent scientific data, main factors affecting coral health: climate change, agricultural pollution, overfishing, and recreational activities. For coral diversity, the main factor is wave power. For coral cover, it's temperature. Based on current data set, UV filters are not a key driver of coral health. How to choose the right sunscreen? The best sunscreen for you is one which you will regularly use. What I mean by that? If you are not comfortable with a particular type of sunscreen, you will probably not use it. You need one which you really like in terms of safety, sensorial characteristics, and budget, because you will probably use a lot of product during summer. Take into account season, time of the day, type of activity, your photosensitivity, which in turn depends on your skin color, age, skin condition, general health status. And also take into account sensorial characteristics. For example, if you don't like white cast, you have to find something with more transparent texture product. Aroma also important. Okay, we learned so much so fast. So, physical or chemical filters, what's better? There is no one single answer, because what product you will choose will depend on what I mentioned already in the previous slide. Season, type of activity, age, etc., etc. So probably you will need at least 2 different products to cover your needs. Products with physical or non-organic filters. Pros and cons. Pros, they are generally considered as safe, according to the year's proposal order. Cons, about twice less effective than products with chemical organic filters, even with the same value of SPF. So less effective. No much studies behind, and usually give undesirable sensorial characteristics such as white cast effect on the skin. Products with chemical or organic filters. They high effective and they have normally great sensorial characteristics. What are the minuses? They are by now not under GRAS category. FDA initiated additional studies about that, which is in process. So probably soon we will have more data about it. If maximum used, the concentration of some filters are above FDA threshold, which is 0.5 nanogram per milliliter of blood plasma. FDA explicitly comments that the presence of UV filters in blood does not mean that these substances are toxic. Additional risk assessment is requested already by FDA. And remember that both types of products needed to be reapplied at least every 2 hours. Regarding that, I want to share with you my personal experience as a sunscreen user. Normally during the summer I use more than 2 sunscreens, but at least 2 sunscreens. One with chemical filters and another one with mineral filters, or combine filters, product, chemical and mineral, and another mineral. I use product with chemical sunscreen for my face because otherwise it will not be protected. Otherwise I will get pigmentation for sure. I already tested it many times, so I know it for my skin for sure. So for my skin of the face I use chemical sunscreen, especially if I'm not under shade and especially if I'm outside from 11 to 4. For the rest part of my body I might use mineral sunscreen, and also I might use mineral sunscreen on the face if I'm in the early morning outside or late evening, and if I'm on the shade. So probably mineral sunscreen in that case would be enough. So if you're really concerned about skin penetration of chemical sunscreen, you may look at it that way. So don't use for the full body, for 75% of your body. Just use for the most sensitive parts of your face or your body. And remember, you need quite a lot. Remember the rule of 2 fingers. So 2 milliliters per 1 square centimeter of product you need to give your skin the best possible protection. Also, don't forget about the special t-shirts. If you are swimming, if you're on the beach, just wear a t-shirt. So it will reduce a lot the amount of product you need for your body. If you think that this video was useful for you, please like, share and subscribe to the channel Formula Beauty. I have a lot of interesting topics for you in future. And happy summer!